this is Corey Grimick, Director of the Library, and I wanted to thank you for participating in our Royal Icing Cookie Decorating program. I'm going to start out by telling you that I am not a Royal Icing pro, so I'm going to be muddling through this. So if you are at home thinking, woo, this seems like a lot of steps and a lot of work to do, and I'm not sure I can do it, just know I'm in the same boat as you, but we're going to get through it together. So we are going to start out by making our royal icing. In your bag, you have powdered sugar. You're going to need that. You're going to need your 1 tablespoon measuring scoop. You're going to need your meringue powder, which I have in the original container, but you have in a little like Ziploc storage container. I have now a son with nut allergies, so I'm going to let you know that this contains egg and is also made on equipment that also processes milk, soy, wheat, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. So there is that. And you are going to need to provide a bowl, a rubber spatula. I have my handy dandy Star Wars spatula here, a 1 cup measuring cup, some water, which I have in a little cup here, and either some sort of hand mixer or a stand mixer with a whisk attachment, or a lot of vim, vigor, and energy if you are going to do it by hand with a whisk, which is also possible. You know, whenever I'm making things by hand instead of using a mixer, I think to myself, you know, in the good old days, they didn't have electric mixers. All right, so we're gonna get started. You are going to take 3 tablespoons of your meringue powder. So we'll try to level this off a little bit. 1. And you're gonna have a little more than 3 tablespoons. I'm not sure if you're gonna have enough to make another batch of royal icing or not. That just depends. I tried to do the math with how many tablespoons are in this many ounces and blah, blah, blah. And then I had to ruin it all by buying a 3-pack because that was the most economical means of doing this. So you might have more to make another batch of royal icing. I ordered this off Amazon, so it's easy to get. You can also buy it in like Michael's and all those craft stores and that kind of thing. And what else do I want to tell you? Oh, I want to tell you that this is going to make a fair amount of royal icing. Royal icing freezes. You can freeze it for, I think, up to 2 months. And then you would put it in a Ziploc baggie and get out as much air as you can and zip it up and then freeze it flat. And then just thaw it and get it to room temperature before you want to use it. You might need to remix it because I might separate a little, but you can freeze it. Okay, so we have our 3 tablespoons of meringue powder. And then we're going to put in 4 cups. Ooh, I'm going to make a mess. 4 cups of powdered sugar. Now, you can sift the powdered sugar if you want. I'm not going to do that because I did not feel like bringing a sifter. Also, I almost never sift things. I have 1 lemon blueberry cake that I make that is delicious, but that one I sift because otherwise it gets a little dense. But anyway, you can sift the powdered sugar if you want. Basically, we're just gonna add water until it's the consistency that we want. So, you know, not super necessary. We'll just add more water if we are using more powdered sugar than, you know, what they think we should be using. All right, so there's our 4 cups of powdered sugar. And as you can see, I've gotten powdered sugar all over the table and all over my sweater. I don't know if you can see that or not, we'll see. All right, and then we're gonna start out with 9 tablespoons of water. And we're gonna see how that goes. Sometimes it's really humid and you'll use less. Like if it's very humid out, you might wanna start with 8 tablespoons. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 tablespoons of water. Now we're gonna mix this on a fairly high speed for 1.5 to 2 minutes. And what we're looking for, and we're gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl as we're doing that. And what we're looking for is I'm telling you all this because the mixer's gonna be loud. So we're gonna mix it for about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And I'm gonna turn off the mixer and we're gonna check the consistency. And we're gonna do that by seeing how long it takes for the icing that drips onto the surface to blend back into the surface. So, I'm gonna stand up, I'm gonna get that going a little bit, and happy mixing. Okay, I usually just scrape as I'm mixing, but that is much easier to do with a stand mixer, so I'm gonna turn it off so I can scrape down the sides here. If you don't use a mixer a lot, if you're, say you're one of our younger patrons, you'll notice that I started the mixer off at a slower speed and then turned it up higher once it's got mixed a little bit, just so that there wouldn't be a giant cloud of powdered sugar. So we're gonna mix some more. Did you ever think that you were gonna watch a video of me whipping something for a whole minute? Okay, so now we're gonna lift the whisk up and we're going to, oh, let's see if you can see this very well. So we're gonna let some icing drip in, and then we're gonna count how long it takes for it to reincorporate itself into the, okay, I'm gonna do that again. Okay, so we'll drip some in. I made a squiggle. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi. So it went in within 10 seconds, so that's what you're looking for. I guess I should have mentioned that we are currently working on our base royal icing. And we want it a little bit stiffer so that we can do our piping. And then we're gonna thin it out a little bit, and then we'll use that thinner icing for the flooding and for decorating, like any fun decorating tricks that we're gonna do. So what you want is you want it to reincorporate itself within 9 to 10 seconds. I've got another drip here. Oh, drip in, we'll double check. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi, 9 Mississippi. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. It might be, mine right here might be the tiniest bit too thick, but I'm gonna go for it. As I was mixing, I also realized another reason that you might want to sift the powdered sugar is that then you will not have lumps, which would be nice. It would be nice to not have lumps. So I'm going to tidy up a tiny little bit and be right back. Hopefully you won't even notice a change here. Okay, now you might want to do these steps in a different order, but I figured that we would do all of our royal icing steps together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some flood icing. I can't talk. Some icing to flood the cookies with and to do some decorating, and I'm going to color it. Now you guys have this snazzy mega kit. You have 12 colors of the gel food coloring. You will find as we go through this demonstration that I kept forgetting that I needed to order things for myself to do the demo with. So so I borrowed some gel, I borrowed some gel food coloring from one of my coworkers. So I'm going to make some teal icing, and we're gonna make it the flooding consistency. So I'm gonna take my bowl, and I have another smaller bowl, and I'm gonna put some of my icing in. And you know, depending on how many colors you want to make, that's how much, or how much you think you'll use a color. I'm just gonna make one color because you don't want to watch me mix up like 8,000 bowls of icing. So I'm just gonna make one color and then just use that for all of my decorating and all of my flooding. But you can make as many as you want. So just you put in as much icing as you think you're gonna want. Everything that I have seen says to make more than you think you'll need, a little more, because it's really hard to match the colors, and better to have too much than too little. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna add some of our gel food coloring, and I'm just gonna, let's see, I'm gonna add 2 drops to begin with. I don't know. The print was too small in the box for me to figure out how many to use. So, all right, so I'm putting 2 drops of that in, and then I'm gonna put in another tablespoon of water. We'll start out with 1 tablespoon just to see what consistency we get there. And when we do this, we're going to want the frosting to reincorporate into the base frosting in 5 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds. And I'm gonna use my hand mixer with the whisk again, just to make sure that all the food coloring gets in there uniformly. Okay. I'm going to want to put in a little less. All right, so that's taking about 3 seconds to reincorporate, which I think is a bit too thin. And I do want to make it a little bit darker. So I'm gonna, I meant to put in 1 drop and I put in 2. Let me grab my powdered sugar again. And I'm gonna put in, I don't know, let's put in a tablespoon. Okay, I'm putting in half a tablespoon. I feel like that's not gonna be enough, but we'll start with that and we'll mix it up. see how long it takes to reincorporate. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. We're still at about the same thing. So let's add some more powdered sugar. I don't want it to be too thin. All right, mix that up. Tip it up, and let's see what we got. 1 Mississippi, 2, oops, 1 Mississippi, 2 Miss. Oh my gosh, this is hard to count. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Okay, so that took about 5 seconds. Now you have, you have a little bit of overkill in the, that's gonna make a mess. You went with a little bit of overkill in your food coloring. So you have a ton of food coloring, so you can make your icing just as bright and vibrant as you want to. You can mix colors, you can do whatever you want. I figured, see, I just was kind of running on the assumption that you were gonna love doing this so much that you would want the gel food coloring because you were gonna make your own cookies and decorate them, and this was gonna become your new side hustle or something. The gel food coloring is a little bit better than the liquid food coloring because the liquid food coloring obviously adds liquid to your icing, and you don't necessarily want that. Okay, now to fill up your pastry bag, which is how we're going to pipe the icing in, you have 10 of these pastry bags. You're supposed to use a glass, but I forgot to bring a glass, so I have this fine paper cup, which is fine because I'm not using a ton of icing. So basically you put the bag inside, sort of open it up and sort of put this over the edge of the cup. And that's going to keep it steady as you fill the bag. So we're going to just sort of pour this in as much as you want. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Zoop, 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 zoop. All right. So that should be enough for my purposes here. All right. And then when you pull this out, you can fill up your bag. What I have found is that there's a, see if I squeeze this, it doesn't go down to the tip, mainly because there's air in there, so there's no place for the air to go. And then if you are doing this a lot, you can get a coupler, which sort of goes on here, and then you can get tips, different tips for making different things. I didn't get those for you. I figured we'd go old school. So basically we're just gonna cut the tip of the bag off, and I went with doing basically, we're gonna cut the tip off, and I went like, I always figured I can cut it small and then make it bigger, but I can't cut it too big and then make it smaller. So I just cut off like the tiniest little hair, and then you squeeze this, it goes all the way out, and you can pipe it out. I don't have anything handy, so you'll pipe it out, and that is way too small of a hole. So I'm just gonna squeeze the icing back up there, cut off a little bit more of my tip. And it's really just a, a matter of like how much you want, how much of the icing you want to come out and what you're comfortable with. So there's a little bit more. Okay, so, and I also, you did receive a clip, a bag clip. So you can use that, I think you got a ring and a clip. So you can use those to hold the bag shut. Because the concern is that the icing is going to start to dry and cake. So you can hold your bag shut with the clip that you got or the ring. I've already done my piping icing in the white. So that is all ready. So I have my piping icing here, which is the white, thicker, and my flooding icing, which is the thinner. You can also make thicker icing than the piping icing. And that's if you wanted to make like a royal icing. If you want to make a flower, you can get a little piece of wax paper and you can pipe out a flower, or like some words, or there's something called piping embroidery, which we're not going to do right now because that's very fancy. So you can pipe it out on wax paper and it's stiffer and it will hold its shape. And that, they say, it should hold a sort of a peak and not sink back in on itself. So probably, so you can do that. And so we're gonna take a small break while I tidy, and then we will be right back. Okay, we are back. Now, while I was tidying up, I realized that I am going to actually want a different, I lied, and I'm gonna want 2 colors of flood icing, because otherwise these are gonna be terrible visuals when we go to decorate the cookies. So I did make a big old bag of white flood icing. Okay, so you're gonna want your pastry bags filled with your flood icings and your piping icing. There's my piping. These 2 are my floods. You have 2 pins in your bag. These are both the same size. And then you have delightful, beautiful cookies. I, again, forgot to order enough cookies for me to be able to do this demo. So I had to make my own. And then I couldn't find my cookie cutters. So I had to cut them out with a sharp knife. And so they are really sketchy cookies. So this, I made a circle, which actually is okay because I cut that out with a glass. This is my version of a flower. You have a very nice, even, lovely flower. I tried to make an egg because you guys hadn't have an egg, and I tried to make a butterfly to go along with your butterfly. My butterfly broke, but then I figured we could try to fix that, because if you watch those cookie making shows, they're always fixing things with the royal icing. So I figured we'd try that. And then you have, I didn't even attempt to make a beehive. You guys have beehives. So we will take our piping icing, and I'm just gonna try to glue my cookie together real quick with my piping icing. So put some on there, and I'll just smoosh it together. This is gonna dry really hard. So with a little luck, that will at least hold it together enough for us to be able to do this. Here's my practice one, because I've never actually done this before. So here's the thing. If I were slick, I would have practiced a ton before I did this demo, so that I would like smoothly pipe this frosting on. However, I'm gonna drip. I did not want to, let me get a paper towel. I didn't want to waste the supplies, so I did not do that. So basically, we're going to take our piping icing and we're going to pipe around the edges of our cookie. This will be a lot easier for you because you're going to have nice, smooth, delightful edges. I have janky edges. And you don't necessarily want to touch the tip to the cookie. You want to hold it up above. I found in my practice ones that if you go too slowly, then it kind of squiggles, like gets a little, I don't know if you can see this cookie here. It gets a little crooked, a little wiggly. I am going to, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit on our cookies. There we go. All right. All right, camera work right in the middle. We're gonna zoom in on the cookies. And then you're going to want to start and end. You don't have to do all the piping in one fell swoop, but they recommend that you have the joins in, like places that make sense. So corners, angles, this egg, the edge of my egg broke off, but the circle, there's like a less normal stopping point for that. But so basically you're gonna hold the bag, you're gonna squeeze it, and we're gonna pipe. Maybe I'll start with the egg, that seems a little easier. All right, you probably can't see because of my hand. All right, so steady pressures, there's a steady amount. It's kind of like caulk in the bathtub. Ooh, look at me go, woo! Oh, oops, okay, there was a bobble. Bobble. Apparently I should have stopped and turned the cookie. That would have been the ideal thing to do. So what we're doing is we're creating a little barrier so when we flood the cookie with icing, it won't just run off the cookie. I was probably a little bit too close to the edge. Like that might be a little bit close to the edge. We'll see. So you don't want to be too close to the edge because then your piping icing will, or your piping will just fly off the cookie. So here I'm gonna do it in. I'm gonna start here at this edge. I'm gonna pipe, squeeze steadily, and then I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna turn my cookie because that's easier. And then I'm gonna start, join it up there, pipe, and stop at the edge. I should be telling this is a 4-leaf clover and not a flower. It'll probably be a little bit easier for you to not get too close to the edge. I'm doing this like sort of far away from myself so that you can see it. But you can be standing like right above it, so you might have a little more luck. And I should tell you that I had a much smaller hole on my piping bag. I don't know if you can see the difference between my practice piping and this. So I had a much smaller hole. So this is a much thinner line, but I decided that I wanted to make sure that my cookies are not going to smoosh. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and now we're gonna flood. We're gonna do a little bit of flooding because I don't want, all right, well, we're gonna have different color flooding than our, okay, so with the flooding, you want to, oh my goodness. I just dripped out the top of my bag, which is why maybe you should also use your clip so that you don't just drip icing out the top of your bag like I just did. So the flooding, you want to, you can have a bigger hole because it doesn't matter if more icing comes out. And what you want to do is you want to, get it inside. I just went outside. And basically you want to sort of start at the edge and move towards the center. You can do one section at a time, or you can do, hopefully you can see past my hand. Like I say, you can do one section at a time, or you can outline the whole cookie. And if you miss a little spot, that's going to be fine because we are going to be able to use our pins to fill it out. So okay, so as you can see, that might actually be a crumb. That's a crumb. Okay, that's not helpful. But there's a little spot that didn't get the icing, so I can just use my pin and just get that bloop, 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 all the way up to the edge. Ooh, oh, and look, see, my piping was too close to the edge there. And so I have some royal icing dripping off the edge. So don't make my mistake. Make sure that your piping is far enough away from the edge. All right, let's do, I should have had some way to like sort of stand my bags up. All right, let's try flooding this and see how this works. This is an egg. So you have a couple choices. I mean, basically, you can wait for the icing to dry if you want. The piping icing probably would have been to dry somewhat so that, it doesn't just like scooge over. Ugh. Apparently I made a smaller hole in this one. My piping bag has a smaller hole. Now, this is sort of like, it has meringue powder in it. And if you've ever made a lemon meringue pie, you know that meringue has a tendency to, that went over the edge, to shrink. So they do recommend that you sort of overfill it get all sciencey, you know, a drop of water has, is it the meniscus? Is that what it's called? A drop of water at a microscopic level has like a little skin kind of on top that holds it all together. So that's basically what we're creating here. So we're gonna take our pin, and it didn't get all the way to the edge, so I'm gonna scooch it to the edge. So you can, if you're not getting all the way to the edge, or if you have like some angles or corners that you wanna do that in, oh, look at how much I've gone over the edge here. Okay, that's not great, but so you can use your pin to make sure that your frosting, or that your royal icing gets all the way to the edge, or you can gently pick up the cookie and sort of tap it down like that. Okay, so now we're going to do, okay, so my Easter egg, I want to do a little wet on wet. So there's a couple different techniques that you can do. You can do wet on wet, where you would just take your royal icing and like, okay, so I'm gonna put some dots on my egg. I'm gonna put a row of dots. Boop, 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 boop. Oh my gosh, I'm dripping again. All right, now I have a sweater full of royal icing. I need to be better at that. So do not make the same mistake I am making. Do not let all of the royal icing fly out the top of your bag onto your hand and your sweater and the table. So the wet on wet is going to give you, it's going to blend in. Remember how when we were figuring out how thick we wanted our icing to be, I want another dot. As it turns out, that was annoying me. Felt off kilter. So when we were trying to figure out how thick we wanted our icing to be, we did, let me move this. Ugh, yuck. We saw how long it took for it to, you know, sink into the frosting. So if you do a wet on wet decoration, then it's going to be even with the rest of the icing, and it's gonna it shouldn't bleed. Your icing should be thick enough that it doesn't, you know, like if you get it so that it takes 5 seconds to sink back in, it shouldn't bleed. But it will just sort of become part of this icing. If you wait for this icing to dry a little bit and then you put these dots on, then it would be sort of three-dimensional, and you would have, this would rise up above the cookie. All right, so I'm going to, now here's another fun thing. You can do marbling, or you can make hearts. So I'm gonna I'm gonna put them there. That's not where I was gonna put it, but, all right, so I'm gonna put a few bigger spots. Oh, bloop. And if you want to do this technique, if you want to do marbling or you want to make hearts or whatever, you should do it while your frosting is wet. So we're going to take our pin and we're going to pull it through. Okay, I guess maybe I should wait another second. As you can see, I should have waited a little bit longer just for this to set a tiny bit so that it didn't instantly like floop, fill in that part of the heart, but we made a little point. So you're gonna drag it through, and that's going to create, no. Okay, well, I'm not very good at making hearts. So if you try to make hearts at home, do a better job than I am. Maybe if we draw some in. Oh, there, that worked better. So draw some of the white or the background color in. So we're gonna wait a tiny bit. Let's just try this one again. Yep. So you wanna wait a tiny bit so it's not completely wet. And then you wanna draw some of the background color into your heart and make a little point. And so now I have sort of little heart shapes. You can practice that until you're good at it. I'm gonna try to get rid of that icing. I'm gonna wait, and I'm going to make let's put that to the side. I'm gonna make a stripe, but I want it to be above the other icing. So I'm gonna let that dry a little bit. Basically, this one is dried completely. Well, not completely. I mean, you're gonna wanna let these sit for like 12 hours, 12 to 24 hours to like completely set. But this one is pretty hard. Oops, I did smush it a little bit there. And it'll sort of get like a skin on it, and that's what you want. Okay. I am going to, what am I gonna do? I'm going to attempt to not get royal icing all over myself. So I'm gonna fill up this center part. This is back when I was, oh, that was way too far away from the edge. Okay, Corey. Pull it together, Corey. All right, we'll get closer to the edge. This is when my piping bag was the hole was much smaller. Okay, I am oogling it out the top. Oh, goodness gracious. I think I just have some in the top of my bag, and so no matter how much I try not to apply pressure to the top of my bag, it is just dripping out of there. Can you see? Oops, no, you can't see. Oh, I shouldn't have told you. You would have known. And then I just made a schmutz outside my... All right, I have to go get another paper towel. All right. I think I have baker's hands. All right. So I'm gonna try marbling. So I'm gonna just put some spots of this other color. You can marble with different, and then we're just sort of gonna draw it through. You can draw it through in circles, you can draw it through in stripies. Now, if I were really slick, I would have made another color. Like, can you imagine if I had some orange and I put like bloop, 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 put dots in between the blue dots. And then when I marbled it, then I would have had, you know, like gorgeous orange and blue. And so you just sort of play around with that. Do that. Oh, Nelly. I have decided. Oops. Okay, I was really just practicing my piping, but let's see if I can actually make a two-tone. Ooh, that got too close. Let's see if I can make a two-tone here. Okay, we're gonna need more icing there. All right. Do you feel like you're watching someone learn to do this as we go? Because in a way, you are. So you can do two colors like that. For that, I would wait for your piping, your outlining icing to dry. Let me take my little pin, just sort of, actually let's try thunking it. Okay, so this definitely, I needed a, as you can see, I'm getting some drip over there, I'm getting some drip there, so I really definitely needed a bigger hole in my piping bag because I needed that piping to be taller. Hey, look, I managed to glue my cookie. All right, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the one, man. This is going to be the best cookie you've ever seen. I am going to spend a lot of time cleaning up from this program because I am making a giant mess. Okay, so I'm gonna make a big old piping. Whoops. Got a little bit of a bobble there. All right, I'm gonna turn it. Again, I should probably try to move my hand so you can see and then stop at the edge. My hand behind it, so hopefully you can see better. Oops, there, that was crinkly. All right. That's a big old thick, that's a thick edge. All right. That's a terrible butterfly. Looking at it, I'm like, I'm not even sure, is it supposed to go this way or this way? I don't know, I think it's supposed to go this way. All right. So we will let that stand for just a few seconds, just because I don't want to touch this one. Ooh, okay. Oh, you can't see. You can't see me playing with my little egg here, so I'm going to let this sit for just a second while I... Okay, so I'm very, you don't necessarily want to do this, but if you can see, as I'm tapping this, it's got like sort of a little skin on it. So now, if I pipe my stripe, it should stay on top of that icing and create sort of like a 3D effect. I mean, it's not going to be hugely up above, but it's not going to, like this, as you can see, as you can see, these dots have like sort of gone into the icing, but this is going to be like a little bit above it. All right, so actually, I'm a little bit proud of this one. Well, that's the base of the egg. So if I hadn't broken the edge off my egg cookie and whatnot, this is actually not a bad looking Easter egg of a cookie. If I were doing this at home, I'd probably make another color of icing, and I'd probably put another stripe there, maybe another row of dot, like some 3D dots, boop, 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 boop. Maybe a pink. Yeah, so that's not that bad. So we have our wet on wet, which brings it down to the same level. We've got our, you let it dry a little bit, and then it's going to be a little bit 3D. We've got our marbling and a little bit of drippiness there. I've got this, which is just a hot mess. And what should I do with my butterfly? This is gonna squish all over the place. So, all right, so here's my fill, royal icing. I'm gonna do one like sort of wing bit at a time. I really should, I should have cut this hole bigger. All right, and then I think another thing I have to do is be careful to not actually, like to get it up, I can't talk, to get my flood icing up against the piping, but not go over the piping. I think that is part of my problem too. So learn from my mistakes. Go up to the edge of the piping, but don't go over the piping. Because I think that is what also is making my cookie runneth over. Now, I am hoping that as you decorate your cookies and as you do a much better job than I am doing, because I have no doubt that you are going to do a better job than I am doing, I am hoping that you, I did have some overflow, I'm hoping that you will take pictures. If you find out that you're really, really good at this, then make a video. You can share a video with me of it. But I'm hoping at the very least that you will take a picture of your gorgeous cookies and email it to me. You will have my email address because I'm going to send you the link to this video. But it is cgrimminck@portlandmilibrary.com. Like I say, you can just respond to the link to this video, and yeah, let us see your cookies, man. All right, I'm gonna give this butterfly a body. Zoop, zoop. All right, now I'm just playing. You can stop watching the video now and make your own cookies. Because now I'm just having fun. Bloop, give it some spots. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Zoop, 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 zoop. I don't know why I feel compelled to make that noise. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that looks like a kindergartner drew that. That's okay. I'm okay with that. All right. And I should probably do something else with this, but again, I don't know. So let's see, let's give this a center. Whoop. It's gonna be a little 3D. Let's give it a center. And just for kicks, we'll give it a little spot in the center of that. All right. So these, oh, I just stuck my finger in that. So these are my cookies. This is my mess that I've made. Oh, good. I've gone in far enough that you can't necessarily see the giant mess I've made. So that is our royal icing lesson. Like I say, there are so many other like amazing things that you can do. You can make flowers. You can make writing. You can do this embroidery technique. There's other techniques with this. You do have also in your bag, you have some little pearls and you have some little like funfetti things. So you can stick those in, do that while the icing is still at least a little bit wet. You can put those on and you can put like little eyeballs on your butterfly or whatever you want to do. You can make your piping different colors. So like if you're doing your beehive and let's say you wanted to pipe around the edge of the entire hive in like say brown, and then you wanted to do those lines that go across it also in brown, you could do that, or orange, or whatever you want to do. So you can make your piping different colors. You can make your flood color different colors. But I'm sure that we have books on cookie decorating. So if this is fun for you and you decide that you want to take this further, come back to the library and we will get some books for you. You can check out some books on cookie decorating and expand your techniques and really just go crazy with it. So thank you so much for doing this. We have coming up in April, we have another take and make craft program called Baby Baubles, which is basically making, it's kind of a 3D baby book. That's how I'm going to describe it. That's my elevator pitch for it. You're basically going to make a 3D baby book out of glass Christmas tree ornaments. And then we have a webinar. No, not webinar. No, it is a webinar. We have a webinar on podcasts and how to download and listen to podcasts and find good podcasts. And then in May, we are going to do another miniature masterpiece painting take and make bag. So check back for those different programs, and thank you so much. And I hope that you enjoyed this cookie decorating.